Well, good afternoon. Welcome everybody to the 2023 Better Me Group Detox. Okay, and I'm glad everybody's here today. Today we're moving into more of a phase 2 of what we call the intensive detox program, and then Kelsey's going to have another program that it'd be another option for you to follow also. So we try to be real flexible, make sure we have programs doable for everyone can follow. Okay, no matter what complications that or conflicts they're going through in their life. And so today I want to talk to you a little bit about juicing. Okay, juicing. Okay, and so juicing is the fastest way to get maximum amount of nutrition in the body. When I look at fuel, I look at juicing as like a fuel supply. And I always I came from a motorsports background, so I like to use the analogy of cars. Okay, and so if I had a brand new Ferrari, okay, in my driveway, okay, I'd make sure that I have really super high octane fuel, so that car can really excel in its maximum potential. Okay, wouldn't you agree? Mm-hmm. You know, use maximum octane in that fuel. And so same thing in our bodies. If I wanted to maximize my full potential in my body, then I want to give my body optimum amount of fuel supply. Okay, so I can give it a low octane fuel, okay, low performance, okay, or I can give my body high octane fuel, better performance. Okay, if that makes sense. Okay, so I look at it as juicing is almost like an octane booster. So it super fuels our supply of food in our body. Okay, and so one way to also look at it is talk about raw food a little bit. Raw food has incorporated natural enzymes in that food, and one of its jobs is to metabolize the food particles, but also acts as a transport mechanism, like a taxi cab, we call it. And so it's going to metabolize the food, but also it's going to transport those food or nutrition needed in particular cells, to say. And so one of the problems, though, is those enzymes start to die off a little over 100 degrees, about 105, and they're completely dead around 113 degrees Fahrenheit. And when you kill those enzymes, then your body is dependent upon digestion of that more completely. Okay. And so during this part 2 of the fast, it's more raw food, okay, not raw juices and more raw food that we'll be incorporating, okay. And so we're going to incorporate a lot more live enzymes, and that's going to be a lot easier for our bodies to digest, more of a direct fuel source. And also, switch gears a little bit, we want to make sure that we're preparing ourselves for this fasting journey, okay? And so what we like to do is really build up our reserves, make sure we get enough minerals in our body. And so one of the days we're doing this is called bone broth. We're incorporating bone broth, okay? And there's several different ways to do bone broth, okay? One is you can make it yourself, okay? And has anyone ever made bone broth before? Okay. We have a recipe on our website, but also you can buy it commercially, and I have some samples today we can try. That's one of our treats, okay? So we have fresh juices today, and also we want to have some bone broth. How about that? So you can try it, you know what to say. And so the next thing I want to talk to you a little bit, I'm kind of bouncing around a little bit, and I'm going to really dive into it, okay? I'm just going to give you kind of a quick overview. But also we look at, if you think about it, when you were born as a small child, you were given genes, right? And you can't really change those genes, what was given to you. But one thing you can do is you can change the expression of those genes, okay? And how we change the expression is by changing the environment that our cells are living in. And so I'm going to give you an analogy, if that's okay, all right? All right, so if you put a seed into a very toxic soil, what would happen to that seed? It probably wouldn't thrive. It would probably grow up to be a very unhealthy plant. Okay, if that makes sense. Okay, and so, but if you were to I was actually traveling throughout the country when I was real young, and I was looking at different types of retreat centers for healing, and I ran across this place in Baja, Mexico. And what happened is this company, they bought out the Levi Strauss mansion. They bought the mansion out, and immediately what they did is they brought a bulldozer in. They bulldozed all the soil off that property, and they imported good, fertile, organic soil. Okay, and then with that good, healthy soil, you put that seed in the soil, and then what happens to it? Right. So it's going to thrive. Okay. So same thing in our body. That's one of the reasons why this first phase, we're opening up the excretion pathways, turning on the faucet so your body can start pouring out toxins. Okay. And so what we're doing is we're changing your environment that your cells are living in. Is one way we're doing that. Okay. Then we're incorporating good, healthy, dense, nutritional foods to help build up the good, healthy soil or the bioterrain of the body. Okay. So now your cells are going to start communicating more effectively, and also they'll be producing good, healthy cells, the generations, in the future of those cells. And so we're changing the expression in a more healthy expression. Okay. And so what I mean by that is, a toxic cell, more prone to disease pathways, more toward cancer, to say. A good, healthy terrain is going to produce more healthy vitality, a superhuman. Okay, that's what we want to be. Okay, if that makes sense. You may have any questions on that?
Yeah, that's it. I'm sorry. I've turned my phone off.
Okay. All right. So what we're doing today, we're going to talk about is an intensive fast, and we're going to consider the options of living a whole week, at least 5 days, on liquid foods. Okay. Has anyone? So we call this a fast. Okay. Has anyone ever fasted where they didn't consume any solid food for a whole day?
Yeah.
Okay, good, great. And has anyone ever did extensive fasting where they fast more than 1 day on liquids? Okay, good, very good. Was that a positive experience or? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Maybe not at the time.
Awesome. Okay.
It's amazing what the mind gets so much more clear.
Good. You notice that when you're fasting? Yeah. Okay. And so one of our goals on going on a liquid diet for 5 days is something that hasn't happened since birth. Okay. All right. And what that is we're completely stopping the digestive system. Okay. Your digestive system is always working. It never gets to go on vacation. Okay. And you're consuming food, or it's always digestion throughout the whole day. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to send your digestive system to Bahamas. We'll send it over to Bahamas. It's going to take a week long of vacation so it can revive, restore itself. Okay. And in the meantime, we're going to start consuming fresh juices. Now, that digestion system really doesn't stop until the bowel is completely empty. Okay. And so one way to accelerate that process is to consume fiber and laxatives to try and empty that out. Another form is a little bit more aggressive, and is to do colonics or enemas. Okay, that's another way to accelerate that process. But our goal is to completely empty out the bowel. It usually takes about 2 to 3 days. And usually after 2 or 3 days, then all of our cravings erase, they go away. And so then I call it the magic starts to happen at that time, because your body's energy supply, it takes about up to 85% of your body's energy just to digest its food. And so when your digestive system is stopped, you're consuming those liquids as our fuel supply, then that 85% of the body's energy now is going toward attacking the pathogens, okay? Going toward repairing those maybe fragile cells of the body, okay? So rebuilding, repairing, igniting vitality in our body. And so that really starts that process. So really you start reaping most of the benefits after, I call it day 3 from a fast. So this is some helpful hints. When you're fasting on liquids, when you're, let's just compare it. Say if you're eating meals, you might eat every 4 meals. I mean, every 4 hours. I may go a little longer sometimes. And so But when you're fasting on liquids, you want to be more conscious of that. You want to make sure you're consuming some type of fuel supply on an hourly basis. And so it could be some fresh juices, bone broth, a protein shake, something, some kind of fuel supply every hour that's going by. Okay, because you don't want your glucose to get bottomed out too low. Okay, you don't want to become weak or fainty. Okay, you want to make sure you have that steady supply of glucose from the fresh juices or the food sources going in, constantly throughout the body. So always be conscious of that. And so, say if your schedule got busy, and it did happen, and say you became weak and fainty at that time. So then, what I recommend doing is having some raw vegetables, some cucumbers, a salad. Maybe drink some fresh juices, a protein shake, a bone broth. I call it semi-breaking the fast, okay? To get your vitality back up, okay? So feel free to do that if you need to, okay? And so now, what I like to do is, if you're looking at your handout on the Detox, it says on page 2, it says the title Liquid Fast. It looks like this right here. Okay. Now I'm going to be going over this here with you. And this is pretty much a how-to do this fast, okay? And so every day it's a little bit different purpose, okay? But I would call it day 1, the purpose is we're trying to just basically empty out the bowel. You're preparing yourself for this fast, so we're going to empty out the bowel. And a lot of my population in my community here, they either have poor fat metabolism, or their gallbladder is very congested, or they may even have stones forming, gallstones, or maybe they do have gallstones. Okay, and so what we do is we prepare ourselves for this fast. One way we do it is we drink apple juice for the whole day. Okay, and the apple juice is very important because it tends to soften those stones, start to dissolve those stones. It starts to soften those. It's important. It also acts as a natural laxative. It helps move the bowel out so we can have our bowel can be completely empty out, our GI. And so we're drinking, I call it 1 to 2 quarts of fresh apple juice on a daily basis. And that's usually not in one serving, it's spread out throughout the day. So think about this as consuming, several ounces, like 6 to 8 ounces every hour to say, or every other hour, okay, throughout the whole day. Just kind of spread it out a little bit, okay? So that's one way, is to drink apple juice. And so this is a modified liquid fast to try to help you out, make it more gentle. So we are still consuming our Ultra Clear Renew Detox Protein Shake throughout this fast. And one of the purposes of that, because it does contain some phytonutrients to help accelerate that detox process. But number 2, it does have a plant-based protein in it, and so you're not losing the muscle mass like you would normally on a complete liquid fast with just juices only, to say. Okay.
That's the same drink we've been drinking on the Detox.
Right.
Okay.
The Ultra Clear Renew. Okay. And then one thing you can do is inside that protein shake, or with the protein shake, you can consume a fiber supplement. I think that's really good because fiber is good for, think about it, is like a broom. As you consume that fiber, the broom is sweeping through the GI systems of the body. The small and large intestine is sweeping through. Okay.
Are you saying blended in with the shake?
Yeah, so there's some different types. I have some at my table here I like a lot. One is biofiber, one of my favorite ones because it's a plant fiber. We have one called Colon Plus. That's a more wide spectrum fiber that contains a lot of soluble, insoluble fibers. And it does have a little bit of psyllium in there. Called Colon Plus. I really like that one a lot. Okay. And I think that's really important. But also, we want to make sure we're consuming oils throughout the day. And so in the shake, we like flaxseed oil. It's an anti-inflammatory, good, healthy oil. 1 to 2 tablespoons is good in the shake. Okay. All right. And so basically, that's on day 1. That's what you're doing. You're drinking apple juice, protein shakes, Ultra Clear Renew, you know, and so it's based upon calorie need. Okay, so if you're a big muscle guy, you may want to drink 4 shakes a day. Okay, and say you know, if your metabolic rate is slower, okay, you don't burn as many calories, then you could probably get by with 2 a day. Okay, or what you could do is do a half serving, 1 scoop 4 times a day, if you feel bloated a lot.
So you can't add like fruit, like we do now on the Detox, add fruit to the shake, you just drink it plain?
That's a good question. So yes, you can add some fruit to it if you like.
Okay.
You can add fruit. Preferably though, a Granny Smith apple, preferably, but you can add some fruit to it. Also, one thing we like to do is to make sure we're getting adequate enough dense greens in our bodies. You know, some of the superfoods is to blend in either kale, spinach, chard, or maybe some romaine leaf lettuce, you know, into that shake also with it. Okay, and so if I'm doing like a flat kale, I would do maybe like 4 leaves, you know, blended into the shake. Okay, that's a good thing to do. So it's pretty simple. Okay, and then day 2 is a little different. Day 2, you're consuming you know, same recipe as far as the shake. You know, protein shake blended in the green healthy leaves, a little bit of fiber, and then oil. Okay, that's kind of the recipe of that shake. So you're still doing that, but on top of that, the other liquids are a different purpose, and so now we're kind of building up our reserves, preparing for a little bit longer fast. So we're consuming bone broth throughout the whole day. Okay, so bone broth has a lot of really rich nutrients in it. So this is how you make bone broth. Basically, you would buy a chicken, organic chicken preferably, or maybe some beef, and you know, a lot of bones in the beef, and then you want to bake it in the oven, okay? And then bake it, you know, at the regular temperature, and then when it's done, you pull it out and you debone it. You know, you pull the meat off the bones, okay? And you leave a little bit of fat, a little bit of tendon, a little bit of ligament, you know, a little bit of meat on there to say, okay? And not completely, you know, cleaning out the bones, to say. And then you just, you can pull that meat aside and put it in the freezer. You can make a soup out of it a little bit later, you know, if you like, when you finish your fast. Because this next series right here, the first 5 days, we're not consuming any type of animal products. Okay, it's basically 100% all plant-based for 5 days. Okay, so our protein sources are coming from our protein shakes and plant-based. It's not coming from like chicken, beef, turkey, or you know, the type of animal product to say. And so then you take those bones, okay, and you put it in a crock pot with 2 quarts of water. Okay, you can put in some spices in there if you like. Then you add in about 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, and you let that simmer for 2 days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Then after 2 days, you get your spoon and you stir it around, and what happens is the bones and also the bone marrow starts to break apart, okay, from that bones. And then what you're doing is you're straining that, and that's what you're consuming, okay, throughout this specific day right here is the broth of the bone, okay. So you're getting those rich minerals, collagen from the bones that have been you know, softened, and then you can consume part of that nutrients from it. All right, and then so that's on day 2. Then the next series is very consistent. We call that day 3, 4, and 5 is very consistent. Okay, so on day 4, 3, 4, and 5, we're consuming green, fresh juices. Okay, and I did put a sample recipe here at the bottom of the page. And then, but what I found out is, you know, not everybody has a juicer, okay? And they're closing down a lot of the juice bars, you know, around town, you know, in a lot of different cities as you travel out. And so they've been replaced with what we call cold press juices, okay? And there's nothing wrong with that. You can consume those, okay? But I'll tell you, one of my favorites is one that I would buy at Whole Foods. Is called Urban Green. They have one called Green Lemonade also. It's really well. But the Urban Green is definitely my personal favorite. And then I'll mix that half and half with carrot juice. Okay, and Kelsey, do you mind getting that fresh juice out of the refrigerator for me? And so, in a preparation for today, I wanted everybody to experience those good, healthy, fresh fruit juices. And unfortunately, they were out. But I found an alternative supply I think that is really, really good. And I couldn't believe how inexpensive this here was. This is only $12 for this 64 ounces of fresh juice. Okay.
Where'd you get it?
I got this at Whole Foods, actually. So when you walk in Whole Foods on the right-hand side, they usually have their fresh juices for the day. But this right here was more in the hot bar area.
Oh, interesting.
In that refrigerator section is where this was located here.
What are the ingredients?
Yeah, I'll read this off to you here. And so it's made by a company called Arden's Garden, okay? And I think it came from Atlanta, Georgia, okay? And this is what it has in it. It's pretty simple, and it's something that I would endorse, to say. It has cucumbers, which is very cooling to the body, okay? Celery, it's got those good healthy electrolytes. Apple juice we talked about, okay? Acts as that natural laxative, and also keep the stones softened if we have those in our gallbladder forming. Some spinach, so you get good rich iron, and then also kale and a little bit of ginger.
And that's it, no carrots?
Yeah, no carrots. So you can buy just carrot juice and mix it with it if you like.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the greens. So the greens are detoxifying and cleansing. That's why I want to focus on the greens. Okay, but also the carrot juice has a lot of beta carotene in it, so it really helps the cells. And so I like to have a little bit of both in there. Okay, but the greens, if I only had to do one, it would be the green juices. Okay, right here. Okay.
Cool.
So I'll open those up in a little bit. And so basically what you're doing is you're drinking 1 to 2 quarts of these fresh green juices, okay, throughout the day, and you're drinking your protein shakes. So it's really simple. Okay, and so always be conscious about your bowel movements. Okay, if you have diarrhea, of course, you know stop consuming oil. Okay, it is a natural laxative. You know, it's going to soften the stool. If you're constipated, maybe try taking a laxative. Okay, increasing your oil consumption to help soften up those stools. Okay. And so this is some of my expectations for you, okay? And so the average person is carrying around with them about 17 pounds of accumulated fecal plaque surrounding their GI tract, okay? And so,
20 pounds off the scale.
and so I grew up as a small child on a large farm, okay? And I only knew 2 food groups, okay? It's a T-bone steak and hamburgers, okay? And sometimes I have some filet mignon, okay? But then I'd have a lot of corn, and that's all I ate as a small child, okay? So, from that, of course, I was severely constipated. I had a lot of decay in my body. And then of course, that result of that is I have all this fecal plaque, I call it, okay? And so when I did my first fast, I'll never get it. It completely changed my life. And I couldn't believe what was coming out of me, okay? It made me want to do it more and more. So I ended up doing the same fast here every quarter for a whole year. Just to really trying to completely, because I was so excited about turning my garden over, what we call bioterrain, turn over the bioterrain. So in the farming area, we plow the field and turn over the soil. That's kind of what I was doing in my body. I felt like I was turning over my bioterrain, okay? I was wanting to detox and get everything out that did not belong there, okay? Would it interfere with my body's ability to survive, okay, and be vital? I was wanting to get it out, okay? And so I did this fast every quarter. I did it a little bit more strict, so I did it without a protein shake. Now, I did tend to lose about 5 pounds of muscle mass throughout this fast year. But I did mine with just strictly liquids only with no protein shakes. But with you, I want to be more gentle. Okay, I know that some of you, this is maybe your first long-term fast, and I think adding the protein shake can make it much more easier, to survive through. To say, okay. And I had So what else am I covering here? Oh yeah, see, there's something important I want to go over. What was it? Anybody have anybody has intuitive what I was thinking about? Oh yeah. And so it may shock you when you read it. Okay, all right. At the very bottom here. And so think about it. We talked about the average person is carrying around about 17 pounds of something, right? Something in their body, okay? And so what happens is we try to take a fiber supplement and we try to sweep it out, okay?
Yeah.
But it's been there for so many years, it's hard and it's like glued into that intestinal lining, okay? And it just will not come loose, okay? So one of the secrets I found out is you can consume oil and it absorbs into that plaque and it starts to become very soft and pliable, okay? And so we really enhanced this and turbocharged this program here on the night of day 4 here, you can see on your handout. And so we're asking you to consider, okay, is kind of what I did, okay, is I would take the best olive oil I can find. I usually try to find it in a can because it was not exposed to light all day long. It's more vital. So I try to buy my olive oil in the can for this specific recipe here, and I would put maybe more gentle. I would start off maybe 4 ounces of olive oil in a glass, okay, and then you want to mix in 4 to 8 ounces of fresh squeezed orange juice with maybe 1 or 2 ounces of lemon juice. And this is your mixture, and you're stirring this up inside this glass. And then you're drinking a little bit, and stirring it up, and drinking a little bit, and trying to get it down as best as possible. And so what happens is we want to immediately, you do this at night, okay? Don't try to do this in the morning. Do your routine. So you want to do this at night, okay? And so what you want to do is you want to go to bed immediately. Okay, but don't lay down flat.
Oh, gee, because
it'll just come right back up.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to think of it like if you were sleeping on a recliner chair. You want your head propped up a little bit. Okay, all right, and so then you take your right knee and you put it up to your chest. Okay, and then you're laying down. That opens up the gallbladder duct. Okay, and so we want to just purge it out. Okay, all right, whatever's not supposed to be there, I guarantee you. It will come out, okay?
Hopefully not till the next morning.
Yeah, in the next morning. Yeah, it won't.
Right away.
Yeah, and then the next morning when you wake up, immediately you want to have some fiber supplement that next morning. As soon as you wake up, that will help to go to work and to push all that sludge out. Okay, so it's going to soften up the fecal plaque throughout the night. Soften it up. Then the next morning you take that fiber shake to say or supplement. It's going to just, like a broom, it's just going to push it all out. It'd be incredible what comes out. Okay.
Oh, no.
All right. And
Do we have to look?
yeah, and say
Don't make
now.
any
So I put on here. It is possible to build up to 8 ounces of olive oil. It is possible. Okay, because I did it many times. Okay, but it makes it much more difficult. I'll just be honest with you, to keep it down. So there's nothing wrong with starting out more gentle, 4 ounces.
Okay, so I'm going to present a little bit, it's kind of taken off what Dr. John has talked about with how to incorporate juices in your shakes and also some solid foods if you're wanting to have a different option from just the strictly liquid 5-day fast. So this would start with your matcha latte in the morning, and you're allowed to have your matcha with your teaspoon to tablespoon of oil, and that can be MCT, coconut, whichever oil you find works for you. And we want to break this down into, if you look at it in segments. So you'll have your matcha, and then you'll have a complex shake. So the complex shake is when you include your veggies. So we do 4 leaves of the flat leaf kale. It's the lacinato kale. I think it adds a much sweeter taste than the curly leaf kale to the protein shakes.
Where do you get it?
You can get it anywhere. On Sprouts, Whole Foods.
Okay.
Kroger may or may not have it. But I know that Sprouts and Whole Foods
Usually
has
side
it.
by side, both kales.
Yeah, and it's looks like an elephant leaf.
Looks like
or
your Swiss chard.
Swiss chard is
Yeah.
near that.
Oh, okay.
I wish I put some in my shake this morning, or I should have saved it so I could show it to you. But you should be able to find it pretty easily.
Okay.
So we'll put that with our shake. You're also permitted to have fruit in there, a serving of fruit and oils with your shake. So we call it complex if it's got the protein, the green, the fruit, and the oil. And so that would be your first kind of, in place of a first whole meal, you'll have your complex shake. Then you have your snack before lunch. And the snack can be, for this option, you can have chopped vegetables, sliced cucumber, any vegetable with a dip or a pate. Of course, keeping in mind what ingredients you want, the good healthy ingredients on that anti-candida sheet. And so that would be your snack. And you can also have that in the afternoon after lunch. If you're wanting something to hold you over from lunch to dinner, then that would be the time for you to have your veggie snacks with hummus or your dip of choice. And for lunch, we would move to our, you can do a slaw or salad as permitted on this diet. So essentially, your protein sources, like you mentioned, are coming from your protein shake. This is we're doing no animal-based protein, all plant-based protein this week. So for your lunch, you can have your chopped veggies and your salad or your slaw, and you can do your dressing with your oils. And we talked about doing olive oil, Celtic or Himalayan sea salt, and a squeeze of lemon or a squeeze of lime. That's our base for our salad dressing or our slaw dressing. It tastes really good too, so I was surprised to enjoy it so much this week. So that would be salad or slaw over lunch, complex shake in the morning, small snack if you feel like you need one, and then for lunch your salad or your slaw. Then you have another snack between lunch and dinner, and for dinner you would do the complex shake again from the morning for your evening time meal. And that would include, and if you want to have additional veggies with that, you're permitted to have any of the unlimited veggies at that time if you feel like you're needing more food. Has anyone experienced fullness with the shakes, with having more than two, or does anyone able to get down more than two? Or does that
during
seem,
a day, you mean?
Mhm, yeah, in a day.
Yeah, and I mean, that was part of the 10-day detox.
Mm-hmm.
And
One day
that
I
worked
think
for
we
you?
had, we were supposed to do 4 of them. I didn't do
Yeah.
4, I did 3.
It's so this way gives you get your 2 full ones, and then you have snack and you have a salad or slaw at lunchtime. So you're consuming something throughout the day. Make sure that you're not experiencing any hypoglycemia, any fatigue. If you start to get hangry, have some veggies beside you, and maybe a hummus or anything you can dip it in. And we're also going to be sure, even if you're doing this option here, to consume good healthy liquids throughout the day. Like we do herbal teas, decaf green or white tea is also permitted, and let's see what other, water with lemon or lime. I don't think we talked about that, but that's a good option for you to be consuming throughout this diet. For a day, you want to begin between 4 to 6 teaspoons. teaspoons or tablespoons? 4 to 6 teaspoons. If you can tolerate more, or if you notice constipation or any backing up, you can increase to a tablespoon. I'll be doing the tablespoon dosage in case that lets you all know anything. And yeah, so this is essentially a more inclusive plan if the 5-day strictly liquids did not resonate with you, or you want to try this and have this option as well. So that's all that I have for you today. I hope that you all are excited about this next week. It's certainly going to prove, I'm excited for what will come of it anyway. I don't know about seeing what's going to be in the toilet when I look in there, but I'm excited and curious all at the same time. So, do y'all have questions about that?
Well, now, the oil is what you need, not the powder, the MCT powder, it's the oil.
It's the oil,
You have
yes.
to do the
Yes, the oil is going to be the better option.
So one of the amazing things about both of these types of fast is we're eliminating all forms of toxicity. Okay, we're not doing any kind of animal products at all. Okay, it's all 100% plant-based. Everything we're doing, with the exception of the bone broth. Okay,